Today's interview is a very special interview. We are here with Bob Caine. And who is Bob Caine? Well, he was my grow partner many, many years ago. We grow indoors, we grow outdoors, every which way you could possibly think. And Bob has got a new book here. It's called The Keeper. He wrote it while he was in jail, which we'll get to in a moment. But let's talk about some of the old times, what we did, and go ahead, take it away.
Absolutely. So let's see, 37 years ago.
37 years ago. Oh, my.
37 years ago,
Jesus.
Big Mike walked into, my brother and myself owned a retail waterbed store, and Big Mike walked in looking for a waterbed, and I was the salesman. So I sold him a waterbed.
Obviously.
And myself and a friend of ours, Larry, went to the Big Mike's apartment, and we set up his waterbed. And his roommate there at the time, Don, I believe,
Donnie Goldsberry, yeah.
walks in and he says, "Hey, you guys want to smoke a joint?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure." So he lights up this joint, and I took one hit, and I'm like, "Dude," I could sell as much of this weed as you could get me.
Yeah.
And so that's how we met. And Big Mike was sitting at his kitchen table, reading a magazine, learning as he always did, and always does still to this day, how to grow better weed and what could we use to grow better weed. And he was growing some pretty damn good weed back then.
This was before the internet, by the way.
Yeah, we had no hydro stores. There were no hydroponic stores.
Very few books in how to grow. It was kind of we're on our own figuring it out.
There were hydroponic stores in California, but none in Illinois where we were at. So we had to try to figure out, or Big Mike would try to figure out what's the best nutrient or fertilizer that we can use to grow good weed. So we were experimenting with everything. I mean, we even made our own teas. We tried.
We did, yeah.
So, but what we found out early on is we grew with some ag salts indoor, and what we found out
from J.R. Peters, from Miracle Grow, you name the company, we got the products and tried them.
Right, and when we were doing our own teas, we were doing pretty good indoor, but when we tried that ag salt, we found out really quick that it looked pretty good. It even smelled okay, but when we smoked it, we were like, ooh, no,
we called it glamour weed.
This is not.
It looked great, but didn't have the punch.
That same year, we grew outdoor, and Big Mike went to the county and found these super soil.
Well, we found out that there is certain places that cannabis, certain type of soil formation that cannabis grew like unbelievably, just like the soil was possessed with growing this plant huge. And we figured out where we looked on the county map that they had a soil map. We found out that they had identified, they had a code for every soil type of structure in the county. And so we looked for the fields that we knew that had the super soil. And then we went and we looked on the map, the county map, and you can tell the rest. We went hunting. For good spots.
Yeah, we were flying, Big Mike got his pilot's license, and so we'd fly around looking for these super soil spots, and we found out that they were all ragweed. These ragweed fields would run through farm fields. The farmer couldn't go in the super soil because his tractor would sink. It was like 4 foot. They would sink. It was so rich.
No, you could put your arm all the way down into the soil.
To your elbow.
Yeah, that's right.
Down to your elbow, exactly. And I remember Big Mike told me, dig down and see what's down there. I want to know what's at the bottom of this stuff. So I, 4 feet deep, I'm still digging, and I start getting these clay shards, like pottery. And I'm going, what was this, like Indians making clay here? And then under the clay shards was gray, wet clay. So you dug down 4 feet, and then there's gray, wet clay. So whatever was on top was just filled with beneficial bacteria, with mycology that was just great for the plants. And we would get we would get plants with 8-inch around stalks. If we didn't pinch them, they would get 14 foot tall, and the ragweed was 14 foot tall.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes we look and our plants are taller than the ragweed. We have to bend them over. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so we were trying to hide the weed around the ragweed, and but the thing about that clay at the bottom, it would, even in droughts, we'd be like, how is our plants surviving? The taproot would go all the way down into that clay and get as much water as it wanted.
Yeah.
But this is way before advanced nutrients. And Big Mike, that year when we harvested our outdoor weed, we're going, holy
shit.
I could say it.
Yeah, sure.
So we're like, holy shit, look at this weed. It's freaking phenomenal. It was like way better than the indoor. And I think a little light bulb went off in your head, Mike, there, and it was like, I got to find out what's in this stuff and, add it to,
help
our
us.
base nutrients, which now we have Big Bud, we have Bud Candy, we have all these different things that are able to get through that ceiling.
Yeah.
That you always talk about with ag salts or with base nutrients.
Well,
you can only get
so far, yeah.
only take you so far, and you always talk about the ooey gooey sticky buds. Well, now the industry's finding out why you're talking about ooey gooey, because those hard buds, they're just not cutting it anymore, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we very interesting where we're at today.
For like some of the things that we did back then, oh my God. It was
Running through the fields with cops chasing us, stuff like that.
Twice we entered fields where they were staked out, and we had enough good counter surveillance going on that we had to jump on them and we were able to get the hell out. And those were very interesting evenings.
Yeah, I grew for 23 years in the black market, and always. Every year looking over my shoulder, and I know the stories.
Well, it's funny about how you found me, because I was out on the run, right, for a while there, and I had gone to Canada. Nobody knew where I was because the man was looking for me in the States.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were partners for 6 years, and DEA got on Big Mike. Long story. But Mike had to take off during a harvest. We were in the middle of a harvest, and Mike's like, I got to go. And so Mike took off, and we kept in touch. He went to California. We kept in touch for a while until the DEA got on him in California. And you'll hear all about this in Big Mike's book that he wrote called Marijuana Don, if that's going to be the name of it.
That's probably going to be the title. We tested it, and with a lot of help, Chris McCombs brought it to life. He's an excellent writer.
Yeah, and you'll hear a couple of the stories here today, but the stuff in his book is amazing. I lived the first part of it, and I'm reading it, and I'm going, how's he going to get out of this? I know how he got out of it. I was there, but I still, as I'm reading it, going, and then the stuff that happened after Big Mike disappeared. So he disappears. He's gone for 10 years. Didn't hear a word from Big Mike. He couldn't reach out to any of his old contacts because the DEA would be able to trace it back. Oh. So I'm at Barnes & Noble's, and I'm grabbing some magazines, and I grabbed Forbes magazine because it had a big pot leaf on the front cover. When I open up the magazine, I start reading. I go home. I'm opening up the magazine, the Forbes magazine. I read, the billion-dollar industry that's not going to go away. So I start reading it, and I turn the page, and I'm like, there's Big Mike, bigger than life, with his 2 partners and 3 Hummers with the Advanced Nutrients logos all over it. And I'm like, Carol, my girlfriend at the time, my wife today, I said, Carol, I found Big Mike. She's like, where? I said, Forbes magazine. I kind of had a feeling I'd find him in Forbes magazine one of these days. But so I reached out to him and at Advanced Nutrients, and Mike's like, you got to come out here and see what I'm doing.
Up in Canada. So he came up to Canada, and
Yeah, and I mean, literally, that tour with Advanced Nutrients, and then just because there was no Advanced Nutrients in Illinois. You were selling it in the United States only in California, I believe.
We started, on the West Coast, exactly.
And, in Illinois, you couldn't get Advanced Nutrients. I could because I knew you, and I'm like, we set something up where you were sending it to my friend's carpet store.
That's right.
And and then it changed my grow life, literally changed my grow life. I was going from 1.25 pounds per light to 2.25 plus pounds per light.
Yeah.
And the plants were beautiful and healthy from, when they were little tiny clones all the way to the day of harvest. Yeah. And just the best weed. I personally feel I grew some of the best weed in the world at that time, Yeah. And I know I did. I was, now you can't get $4,000 a pound anymore. Those days are over, unfortunately. But, I was getting $4,000 a pound up until 2010 when I got indicted by the feds for manufacturing and distributing cannabis. Going back to your story about real quick with the counter surveillance. So Big Mike taught me everything about counter surveillance. And so I tell you
we taught a whole team.
Let me tell you a quick story about Big Mike and the counter surveillance story. So we got these scanners. We're listening to the police, the MEG, the
Metropolitan Enforcement Group at the time.
DEA, whatever.
Yeah.
And so at the time, they had these things where they could scramble the frequency.
That's right.
So Big Mike figured out through studying and calling he found out that he could get this device. He had to send the scanners out.
That's right.
To get this device put on there.
A special chip I could put in there.
And it had a little switch on it. So if they went into encryption, where you couldn't hear them, you flip the switch and it would descramble it and you could hear them.
Right.
So he was able to find that out. And then further than that, he kept talking to different people that knew about all these different things. And he found out that the new grow store that finally opened up, it was homebrew and hydroponics.
Yeah, what was it Grow and Brew or something? Was it?
Brew and Grow.
Brew and Grow, that's right.
Brew and Grow.
Yeah, very good. Good store owner.
Mike finds out that the DEA is camped across the street from Brew and Grow in a strip mall where there's an empty store, and they got surveillance going on this strip mall. Also, they have a
transformer.
A transformer up on the pole that's fake with a camera in it pointed at the store. So
I was able to figure that out because I saw the antenna on top of the transformer.
So Mike figures this out, and then he calls up the hydroponics store owner, and he's like, "Hey, I want to speak to the owner." And then he says, "I want to set up a meeting with you. I got to talk to you about this in person," because he didn't want to talk on the phone.
That's right.
So he meets with the guy, the owner, and he says, "Hey, there's the camera up on that pole, and the DEA are in that store across the street from your store, and they're taking pictures of license plates, and they're following people home, and they're trying to bust them for growing weed." So he calls the news.
He called the news, I know. He
called the Channel 2 News. And he's on the news live pointing to the transformer and just blew.
And then a truck came out and all of a sudden pretended like they were working on it and changed it out or did something.
Oh, my God. Yeah, totally blew their cover, and they had to obviously cancel that. So when you brought up counter surveillance, that story popped in my head.
Yeah.
He was really happy, Dave, the owner.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So, shit hits the fan. I'm on the run. Shit hits the fan in your life. What happened?
So I just kept growing. I kept growing. Actually, the DEA got on me.
You wanted to get out of it, and the family just drug you back in.
Yeah, I wanted to get out of it for years and years. After you left, the DEA was on me. I had to get a lawyer and, lawyer up, and but they had no evidence. One of our other partners got in a bad motorcycle accident, so they couldn't talk to him anymore, Dwayne. And so I quit for 2 years. And then after 2 years, the money was all gone. And I said, you know what? I got to start growing again. So I just started growing. And I think you actually hooked me up with one of my partners, Scott.
Yeah.
And he was a great partner. And,
Who also went on the run and got caught 10 years or 12, 14 years later. And he's out now.
Yeah. 8.5 years he was on the run. But that's when Scott and I were partners when we found you in Forbes magazine, and we were able to get the advanced nutrients. And, Scott was big on organics, so we were always trying to use organic fertilizers. So when you came in, it was like, saved our grow lives. It was so easy to use, and so worked so good. We had our a few little things that we did twist
Yeah.
to make it our own. You know, you didn't, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but then yeah. So in 2010, I was arrested by the DEA for the leader of an 11-man conspiracy, and I got sentenced to 11.8 years in federal prison, and I turned myself in 2012, and due to some law changes,
Well,
some help from Big Mike, a
oh,
lot of help from Big Mike. I still remember the day I got the letter from a lawyer in prison, and I as soon as I opened it and started reading it, I go, this lawyer is interested in my case. It's got to be Big Mike. No, there's no one else out there that would do this. So, Big Mike, the law changes and divine intervention, I ended up doing 4 years. Thank God.
yeah, I was 11-year sentence.
11.8 years. I got 7.8 years off for, the law change was 4.2 years. I'm sorry, 5 years, because they gave me 10 months off for post rehabilitation. Everything I did in prison, got my GED, was taking classes, workout classes. I had a stack of Bible study certificates, just everything all positive stuff.
Now you're an ordained minister that can marry people. Go figure.
Yes.
And you actually have married folks.
I married my nephew
Yeah.
and our best friend's daughter,
Yeah.
one of our best
Very
friend's
cool.
daughter.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
But now,
so,
wait, you're in jail and you got a lot of time on your hands.
Yes.
And we've got to preface this. You play a lot of hockey. You're a goalie.
Yep.
Hence the book, The Keeper, because it's a story about a goalie.
27 years I played ice hockey goalie, and that's what inspired me to write the book. The story kind of hit me like a ton of bricks one day. I started at an older age playing hockey, and I got to a level where I was actually skating in some pre-training camps with NHLers.
Oh.
And this story hit me, and I called you. And I said, Mike, I got this great idea for a screenplay. And here's the idea. And Mike's like, wow, that sounds like a really cool story. He goes, but you can't write a screenplay. You have to write a book first. And I was like, oh, okay. So this was 15 years ago. So I thought, okay, I'll write a book. And I hired a screenplay writer. And I hired a ghostwriter. And shortly after I hired the ghostwriter, I got busted. And I said, hey, man, I can't do this. I can't pay you. And he was like, oh, you gave me $5,000 so far. Let's just see what we can do with that. Well, I started writing the book, and he just never got back to me, never had anything to do with it. So I finished. My goal was to finish the book before I went to federal prison. So I wrote the story and finished it before I went to federal prison. And then I turned myself in. I was in federal prison, and I said, you know what? I have to rewrite that book. It's terrible. I mean, the writing was bad. It was really rough.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
None of us are experts at anything.
No, I mean, and I was self-taught.
Yeah.
So, like we were with the grow.
That's right.
So, but I had my wife send me in. I actually wrote it all out on paper. It was all handwritten on paper. I had her send the whole thing in, and I rewrote it in federal prison. And then when I got out of federal prison, Mike, you hooked me up with a famous writer, James Bonnet.
That's right.
And he helped me edit and polish the book. And we worked together on that for 2 years, believe it or not. And I started book 2 in federal prison. And then when I was working with James Bonnet, since we were going through book 1, it was so fresh in my mind, I said, I'm going to continue to write book 2 as we're going editing and polishing book 1. And I was sending James each chapter, and he was saying, well, I changed this, or I'd add that, or and giving me advice. And so I ended up finishing book 2, but it's not edited and polished yet. So we're waiting on see what happens with book 1, and if it's successful and people enjoy it and like it, then I'll edit and polish.
It's a great story for everyone, but in particular, if you are a hockey player or played hockey, you're really going to love this. book.
It's very inspirational, so you don't have to be a hockey player or fan to enjoy it. You're gonna cry. You should cry. You should laugh.
Yeah.
A lot of inspiration. There's a lot of spirituality in it, and some Italian food. The main character is Mariano Giovanelli, very Italian. His spirited Italian mother, who speaks with a strong Italian accent, is a big part of the book. It's a double comeback story. His son gets injured playing hockey, and he's got to come back from that. He goes into a coma, and then that's what inspires the father to try a comeback. So they're both. The son's trying to do a comeback of life at the same time as the father's trying to do a comeback in what's arguably the most difficult and dangerous position in all of sports, NHL goaltender. Yeah. So that's a little bit of a insight of the book. Very little.
Very little. Very little. It's a great book. So when you went through and you talk about James Bonnet, he wrote a book, Stealing Fire from the Gods. So anyone who wants to get that book, we suggest you go and get that book. It's a book about how to write correctly and tell the story of the hero's journey.
Yes, the story wheel.
The story wheel.
Yeah. It helped me. I read that book, and it tells you how the at the beginning of most stories, the hero's in a good place, and as it goes around the wheel, it tends to get worse and worse and worse and worse, and then he has to get back on that path to where he was at the beginning of the book. That's kind of like the basic story in every Star Wars. You got the good and evil. In the first book, The Keeper, there's not an evil anti-hero in book one. It's kind of like book one is introducing the characters and a baseline of what's happening. In book two, like if book one was a movie, it would be rated PG. Book two is a hard R.
It's a hard R.
It would be rated R, and there's evil, there's good and evil. Oh. But yeah, James Bonnet taught me a lot, and he's a great guy.
So, what other great growing stories are out there that you want to tell the folks about? There's so many of them, crazy stories.
Oh, we have so many stories.
Getting stuck. We made a special pickup truck, and it had two switches on it. One would kill the brake lights, one would kill the backup lights. We had night vision goggles. We made it so it's a true four-wheel drive. What do we call it? The green
Manalishi.
Green Manalishi. Yes. That's it.
And it had to be green, of course, because that's like we couldn't make it camouflage, make it too obvious.
That's a badass truck.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Was. Yeah. Except one day, one of our helpers, we said, back it up. It got stuck on the railroad tracks, and this is a place where, like, we'd never seen a train. It was like one of those tracks that are seldom used, and as all of a sudden we see this light way off in the distance. There was a corner, and I go, "There's a train, and it's coming."
Oh yeah.
And David, who was in the truck, he was going, and he was just burying it deeper and deeper and deeper. And I said to all the guys, "Let's see, we got to roll this thing off the tracks. We got to roll it off the tracks." And we tried. It's like the train's coming closer. It came around the bend. It's like, oh no, it's there. We all scattered, and we just listened. And all of a sudden, that didn't sound so bad. Maybe we dodged a bullet there. No. It all of a sudden the train stops, and I think it was absolutely totaled.
Oh yeah. It was funny because the train track set up high, and we were down. We were actually planting.
Yeah, we were
planting our cuttings.
Yeah,
and we were all planting, and all of a sudden, I think it was Mike. You said, "You hear something, guys?" We're like, "What is that?" And then we seen the light, like you said, and then we're like, "Oh God!" And Dave tried to get it out of there so fast he buried the rocks, those lava rocks that are on railroad tracks, buried it in there. We were trying to get out. I remember everyone was like, "That's it, we got to go. Get down." And Mike's like, "No, you didn't give up. You were the last one. You were in the truck, and I swear that thing had to be 15, 20 feet away when you rolled out and rolled down the hill. I don't think you probably didn't want to say that, but that's I remember it clearly. You were the last one in the truck and rolled down, and the thing got hit. And as we were walking, I probably running away from the cannabis field that was right where the truck got hit. You heard on the scanner that train versus vehicle.
That's right. And we actually harvested that field. That year. The second year was a little bit different.
Yeah.
That was the first time.
I think we had to walk like 2 miles to get to your vehicle that we parked at a church.
That's right.
Church parking lot. Yeah. And the green Manalishi was toast.
Yeah.
And of course, we had it registered to a fake name and everything.
We had to do all that. So it led to a dead end.
Yeah.
Those were some of I look back on those times, and those were some of the best times of our life. I look back and the things that we did, the house and the pinball machines and pool table and hot tub and one of the big 6-foot dishes, we could watch satellite.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, so many stories. And, like I said, we touch on a couple of these stories here today, but, in your book, there's so many great stories that are all true and wild that, I'll tell you what, Mike, I work for Advanced Nutrients, and I talk to growers, I talk to hydroponic store owners every single day. And when we talk about you, it's so surprising to me when they say, oh yeah, everyone thinks Mike is this corporate guy. They don't know they don't know the real Big Mike. And very few people out there know who you really were, legacy, the freaking gangster. I mean, I talked to some guys and they're telling me their story, and and I did this and I did that, and I'm going, I mean, they don't know who you really are. So that I think it's going to be really exciting when your book comes out and people learn who the real Big Mike is, the authentic Big Mike. He's not a corporate.
No,
you didn't even go to college, did you?
The one year pre-med, that was it. Okay. And decided to become an entrepreneur at 19 and started growing weed at 23 years of age.
Reading books like this Secret of Success, or the Law of Success, Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, that's right.
You sent me this, by the way, in federal prison.
Yeah.
Always reading, always learning.
Reading. Yeah.
So. Yeah.
No, we were very sophisticated. We had cell phone intercept equipment that we could go to different cell phone towers. We were able to decode all the phone numbers. We actually put the police under surveillance, got all their license plates and pictures of their cars, and we know who exactly was who, and we knew exactly where they were in our territory at all times.
That's hilarious.
People, and then it ended up, the guy that I bought that system from ended up the government bought it from him, the technology. So we were pretty fortunate. We were able to get our hands on that kind of stuff.
So I'm flashing back right now.
Oh, there's people that did, like, when people were stealing from our fields, and we figured out who they were doing, and we put them under surveillance. And
tapping the phone. I remember that one.
That's it. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I had, so when I got busted, I'm sitting around the table, the DEA's there, the North Central Narcotics Task Force, IRS. And
IRS?
Oh, yeah. Thank God they got me for manufacturing and distributing because when I got out of federal prison, I didn't know a $1,000 fine. That was it. Wow. And, but I'm sitting around this table, and the one guy pulls out, he goes, we found this in your leather down in your closet. And he goes, where'd you get this? It was his license plate number. And I looked at it and I go, yeah, I remember I was listening to the scanner and you guys you did a bust in Crystal Lake and you said, hey, meet me over at the McDonald's in Cary where I lived. Yeah. And he goes, we'll meet over at the McDonald's. So I got in my car, I drove up there, and I sat there with my binoculars, and they're going, hey, Rich, you here? I'm writing down Rich, and his license plate number. So he's asking me where I got this. And so I told him the story where I got it from, I listened to the scanner, and
They had a special frequency. It took a while to figure it out, but we figured out where they were hanging out at.
Right. So when the prosecutor heard this, he looks at the DEA agent and goes, don't you guys have frequencies that people can't listen to? And the DEA agent goes, it wasn't me, it was him. They were Central Narcotics Task Force. So he was like, I didn't do it. They did.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah, it was funny.
Yep.
But, yeah, they found some other stuff back from when you were staying at my house.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Some of your
ID stuff and all kinds of
Social
bullshit.
Security.
That's it.
Yeah.
Birth certificates.
Yeah.
That was a fun time.
Yeah, a lot of...
But we had a high level of confidence because we always knew where they were and what they were doing. And plus, by flying over, we could always look at our fields. We could see if they had someone had been into our fields.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were very careful about how we went in and covered up our trails all the time going out. And when you fly over, all of a sudden you see these 5 or 6 trails coming into the center of the thing. They would actually put devices into the fields that would trigger a warning and let them know that somebody was in the field, and the police would come.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You always
we knew about those too.
You always told us that when we fly over, you're going to see the cops. They're not going to go stealth through the ragweed. They're going to plow a big path. We're going to know. Also, I remember you had a voice-activated tape recorder when we were first growing together at my house with the antenna on my roof, and they. So we would know exactly what the North Central and L7, remember the airplane?
That's right.
Would fly over. And so we would, once a week, you'd come over and we'd listen to the tape. And if they said, we found a cannabis field at Main Street and Junction Boulevard, that's ours. Yeah. We know it's compromised. Then we would fly over. Yeah. It would either be gone because they chopped it down, or we'd see this big path. We know we can't do that one. We can't go in that one.
I remember up in Canada when I was growing, the police found one of the fields, and the RCMP put their business card on one of the stalks for us to see it. That was funny.
I remember farmers used to do that to us too. We grew the year before we went to one of our fields, and the guy he ripped a patch off of his pocket or something and wrote J.D. Cantrell. Warning us, and there was a couple empty bullet cases on the ground, trying to tell us, don't you pot growers grow on my field anymore.
That's right. That's it.
We never grew any corn
but actually, even some of the fields that we grew, I can remember we had to go through a cornfield, and we actually paid the farmer. We figured out what that corn was worth, and cash showed up in his mailbox.
Yeah, well, that's a testament to you, Big Mike, because me and Dwayne were really pissed about that. We were like, are you kidding me? You're going to send this farmer who doesn't even know who we are. Yeah. But yeah, we were, in order to harvest the field, because while we were growing, we'd sneak in there stealth, like Big Mike said, and we'd go underneath we had little tunnels underneath the ragweed that would lead right to our field. And we never had to harm any corn or anything. But to harvest, Big Mike's driving the truck, and he had to turn into the field and just plow over the weed. The corn all the way to get to the weed field, and then we'd harvest and we'd go back that same path. So Mike finds out the farmer's address, figures out how much corn we damage, and sends them the money in the mail.
Well, we had one of you guys would drop it off in the mailbox. So
kind of tells you what kind of person you are, though, Mike. Well, I guess that's why
it's tough being a farmer. It's some of the hardest, most rewarding work when we're outdoors planting and going in the middle of the night. We put that DEET, 50%. Remember 50% DEET would make us sweat like crazy.
Oh, people in California don't understand mosquitoes. You go to Illinois.
You get eaten alive. And the biting flies, oh my God, they were worse. And they would just follow you.
I was just telling this story about the mosquito thing to someone, how we used to...
We grew in swamps. We'd find areas that in the middle of swamps that had super soil.
Oh, they were loaded with mosquitoes. We had those, remember the little masks?
That's right.
Like a net, and it would cover your... And they'd even try to get your eyes, just the little bit of exposure that was there. We'd be covered. And then I was telling the story about how we turn around and I'd spray your back.
That's right.
Your whole back. You'd spray my back. And you'd go in and just get eaten alive. I was talking about how there's
I'm
no.
surprised we haven't grown an extra like 3 heads because of all the pesticides, the DEET stuff we put on our
Yeah.
body, right?
Yeah,
You
that
know?
stuff's poison. But
Worked though.
oh
It
yeah,
did work.
it
Well,
worked for a while. Yeah.
well,
But yeah, I'd get home at sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning.
well,
I'd have to, you know, Dwayne would usually come with me. You'd go to your house, and then Dwayne would stay at my house, and we'd go in the garage, and we'd have to strip down to our underwear before we walked in the house because we're just covered in DEET and mud and
ugh.
the
Nastiness.
remember the stinging nettle,
Yeah.
stinger weed?
Yep.
That would get all over your arms, and
Yeah.
your whole arm would get numb when we go out there and weed during the day.
Yeah. I remember what the first time they tried to bust us. Yeah, the first time in Walworth, Wisconsin, they tried to do that. I remember we just plowed right through this big briar patch. I mean, it was gigantic, but we went through it like it was nothing flat. Scratched up, didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Running.
You know what really that day that made worried me the most? I was pretty sure that we were going to get away, but they said, "Be careful. They may have automatic weapons." I went, "Oh my God, these guys are going to be trigger happy like crazy."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, be careful. And I jumped over the creek, and then the two guys were running down the field. It's like, oh shit, we get on the other side, go this way.
Yeah, and we never carried weapons.
Yeah, we never had to carry weapons.
Bear mace, that was it.
Yeah, bear mace.
Just to keep the animals away, and in case some
Something happened.
thief or you know.
That was it.
Yeah.
So now you're out of jail. You have to reacclimate to society. You did all that stuff, and now you've honed this book. How many times have you rewritten this book? Because you happen to your first copy, of your second draft, third, fourth draft.
Yeah, I'd say probably 5 or 6 at least, and that did not include James Bonnet with the final edit and polishing.
Yep.
So I'd say 5 or 6 before.
What's the biggest takeaway that people are going to find about this book that they're going to like by reading it?
I would say,
Is it an inspirational story?
I would say inspiration that even at an older age, because the main character tries to come back at 37 years old, and NHL goaltending at 37 years old is.
By the way, how old do most goaltenders last? I remember Gordie Howe was 54, but he wasn't a goaltender.
It's young. Goaltending is there are a few.
Really?
I know.
How young?
Craig Anderson, I think, played till he was in his 40s, early 40s. And there's a few others that are.
How early they start them now? Like on a pro team, and the guys are 18 now or 19 on pro teams. Or how does that work?
Connor Bedard is 19 years old, and he played last year at 18. He's not a goalie, but they bring these goalies up very young. Hockey's a young sport. It's just a young sport.
Well, you had to have a hip replacement because of hockey.
27 years, yeah.
I used to watch you throw those pads out, block.
Wore out both my hips, but one of them's still good. The other one, I had to have a hip surgery, and I'm hoping to get back on the ice one of these days.
No way, really?
Oh yeah, I did. I went out and skated with Bryn for an hour and 45 minutes, and three 18-year-olds came out. And another goalie came out, and we did a 2-on-2. Bryn was with one of the 18-year-olds, and I actually beat the kid 2 out of 3 games.
Really?
So
That's been fun.
I was so.
Well, first of all, let's say you're a hockey family.
Yes.
You have a son, Wes. He played hockey to extremely high level.
AAA. Yeah, he played AAA in juniors in Chicago.
Yeah.
Mia played AAA.
And Mia, your daughter.
My oldest daughter, in Illinois as well. She played AAA hockey, and now Bryn is 16, and she's playing for a prep school in Stockton, California, St. Mary's, and she's actually playing in nationals right today. In
Are there scouts?
Anaheim.
Are there scouts at this game and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, there'll be scouts, and they won their first 2 games. They got their 3rd game today, and then they'll probably make it into the quarterfinals, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, they'll go far. But yeah, we're a hockey family. All 3 of my kids played. That was part of the inspiration for the book. Me playing goalie for 27 years was part of the inspiration. But I think what your question to answer was, what will people take away? Yeah, I mean, you read the book, you're going to go, you're at an older age, maybe I can go back to doing that, whatever
Yeah.
you did,
Yeah.
tennis or golf or
And it doesn't
whatever.
necessarily have to be. You could be a coach. You could be participating in a different way,
Yeah,
and that not to give up.
hard work and
Yeah.
determination, will go far, and that's what the keeper. He it's not just
Why'd you call it the keeper?
that's a kind of a nickname for a goalie.
Really?
The keeper,
keeper.
goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper. Yeah.
Yeah, and his nickname in the book is the keeper.
Wow.
So
I like the colors. I like everything. So this book is out. Where can folks get this book?
Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, pretty much every platform that you can get a book at.
Really?
You'll find it. It's my website is thekeeperseries.com.
Thekeeperseries.com.
We have fan gear like
That's
this,
right.
hoodies.
Yes.
And, sweatshirts and stuff like that, with inspirational sayings on the back. This
Wow.
one is about how a cat. There has been NHL goaltenders that can move as quick as a cat.
Really?
Reactions.
There's
as quick as
fast.
a cat.
There's guys that are as quick as a cat.
Some NHL goaltenders, their
How-
brain is
yeah.
able to react as quick as a cat.
Holy moly.
Also, there's inspirational sayings. I have two different sayings: the cat saying and another inspirational saying about how no matter how many times you get knocked down, you got to get back up. So. But yeah, it's available at all the different book platforms. My Instagram page is the Keeper Official 30
Okay.
on Instagram.
The Keeper Official 30 on
Yeah.
Instagram.
And the
All right.
website is thekeeperseries.com. You can get the fan gear and everything on there. So.
And the next thing is going to be your book number 2 is going to be coming out. You're working on that.
It's going to be polished and edited as soon as I see people enjoying this book. And
From pot grower to getting locked up to coming out, being a great salesperson to now an author, book author.
hey,
You just never know.
you just have to keep going. I
is.
think one of my biggest teachers in life was you, Mike. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right.
All right.
Anything you'd like to say in parting to folks listening here today?
I highly encourage you to look for Big Mike's book in the future because you're gonna love it. It's that I read it and I was in part of it, and I mean I'm reading the book going, this is freaking incredible.
As when McCombs was going through the book, he was able to pull up some cop files and stuff that are no longer available, and he authenticated every single thing I was telling about because it sounds like there's no way. It's like this is like made up.
Right.
No, it's not. This is what we actually did.
I know.
Remember Michael Lawson?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This guy, we've had some crazy characters in our lives, right? Like this is the dude who like
Cut his finger off to was
yeah,
loyal.
oh, yeah, he did. Yeah, so he went on a deal. He lost a deal, got tricked. The money got thing, and I knew he didn't take it. And I wasn't. I just said, okay, this happened, and this is what you did wrong. And okay, one day we're sitting in the house, our grow house, and he's there. And I look and I see him up there, and like he's got a knife. He's just like cutting something. Okay, I had no idea what he was cutting. He's cutting his fucking finger off.
Oh man.
And listen, he cut his finger off, and he came down with bloody hand. He showed us his hand, and I go, "What happened to you?" He goes, "I just wanted to show you my loyalty. I didn't take the money." It's like, dude, I know you didn't take the money. I said, okay. Like, you got to stop the bleeding on this. We got to go to the hospital. I don't want to go to the hospital. And we're like, we got to go get him to the hospital. He grabs his finger, and he takes it and flushes it down the toilet.
Oh my.
And then he takes to cauterize it. He takes the gas stove and starts getting, I guess, a knife and doing it. And then finally one day he went to the hospital, and I said, you should go to the hospital. You should get this thing checked out. And I don't know what story he told him, but he was sawing something or whatever. But
Yeah.
that was a tough day to see that.
Is that story in the book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is in the book.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on and on. It never ends.
Yeah.
The stories.
They don't, and I'm sure a lot of the growers out there have a lot of their own stories as well, and they'll appreciate reading
Yeah.
our lives.
Yeah. And they'll get to know the authentic Big Mike,
Yeah.
not the, the
Not,
corporate guy.
not the corporate guy.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. Great, Bob. It was great having you on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Well, and
Appreciate it.
we'll continue doing what we do
All
best.
right.
That's it.
Love you.
Cannabis. Love you too, Bob.
All right.